always being decided. Every generation is crucial. Every generation is strategic. We're not responsible for the past generation. We cannot bear full responsibility for the next one. However, we have our generation, and God will hold us responsible. I believe that's true. So everything we do in evangelism has been inspired, at least on my part, by Billy Graham. I learned so much from him. And so when you see us calling people to Christ, that's really in the tradition of what God called him to do. And he did it in the tradition of Billy Sunday, who did it in the tradition of D.L. Moody, who did it in the tradition of George Whitefield, who did it in the tradition of the Apostle Paul, and the Apostle Preacher, there's no such thing, Apostle Peter. Now I have to explain, I have jet lag, all right? So you're in for a wild ride today, because I was just in Israel, and we had an exciting trip, and so I want to tell you a little bit about that right now. We were invited as guests of the Israeli government by the Department of Tourism, because I have the privilege of serving on the Faith Advisory Board for the President. So they paid all of our expenses, which was very nice. And they put us in a nice hotel and fed us great meals and gave us an incredible tour. But before I get to that, I want to show you a few photos of some of the years I had with Billy. So if you'll turn your attention to the screen. This is at a board meeting in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You can see I was rocking the mullet. The only thing worse than a mullet, which is when your hair is long in the back and shorter on the top, is when you're bald and you have a mullet. That's just unacceptable. But this is in Puerto Rico, where Billy was having one of the biggest crusades of his ministry called Mission World. And so we were all gathered there, and this is the day that we baptized his grandson, Will, whom we've had speak here before. Will, of course, is the son of Franklin and Jane Graham, just a wonderful young man. And so here's my wife, Kathy, saying hello to Billy. Now here we are standing on the beach, and I don't know what I was thinking with this outfit I have on. This is like these, it's so weird. But anyway, there's left to right, Skip Heitzig, who basically looks the same. I don't think Skip ever changes, right? So there's Skip, there's Ruth Graham, Will Graham, who was just baptized, Billy Graham, Franklin Graham, and some strange man who doesn't know how to dress himself. Here we are walking along. I haven't changed the outfit apparently, and I'm having a discussion with Billy about something, and Skip is thinking I'm taller than both of you. Okay, so here we are standing on the beach. There's Will in the background. That's Puerto Rico again. And this is backstage at one of the crusades. Now, left to right, there's me, Billy Graham, Mel Graham, and Kathy, my wife. Now, Mel, Billy's brother, was just the funniest guy I ever met. He was just a real country kind of a guy with lots of jokes. And I remember he said to me, you know, Greg, when I was a boy, I had a drug problem. I said, Mel, you had a drug problem? Oh, yeah. He said, my parents, they drugged me to church on Sunday morning, and they drugged me to church Wednesday night. So he was a great guy, and he's in heaven now, and Billy's with them, and here I am speaking with Billy before he goes out and preaches a little bit later. And this is in Billy's home. Now, you see behind us a fireplace mantle. He had an oversized fireplace, and on the mantle, carved out of the mantle, were the words in German. It was in German, but the words were, "A mighty fortress is our God." And so it was a beautiful fireplace, and so we were there in his home. And this home was wonderful, a very lived-in home. Threadbare furniture, not fancy, but comfortable. And Ruth was the most gracious hostess imaginable. Billy was the most godly man I ever met, and Ruth was the most godly woman I ever met. And being with them was just such a privilege. And there's Kathy with Ruth outside of their home in Montreat, North Carolina. Ruth had a great sense of humor. Here you're going to the home of Billy Graham, so you're a little excited. And you come up to the front door, and the doormat put there by Ruth said, "Not you again." That was Ruth's humor. So here we are. I think this was when they were building the Billy Graham Training Center at the Cove, so we were walking around together. This is a funny shot from San Diego. Billy was doing a crusade there. Look at his sunglasses. He's looking cool. Bono gave these to me. No, he didn't say that. But Bono actually paid a visit to Billy and Ruth in Montreat, North Carolina. Bono from U2. And so I said to Billy, so Billy, do you think Bono's really a Christian? He said, oh my, yes. And then he said, he read poetry to Ruth. And so they really hit it off, Ruth and Bono. And so Billy was coming outside there. This is when Billy Graham received the Congressional Medal of Honor. You know, I told you I'm a pack rat, and sometimes that's a good thing, because you're going through old boxes, and we found a lot of old photos, and I found this is the program from when Billy was given the Congressional Gold Medal from Congress and the Capitol Rotunda, May 2nd, 1996, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I still have that, and so that was a great honor. Here, this is at a board meeting, and I'm saying something to Billy, and I don't know what. This is fun because, you know, I took this shot myself, and Billy and his longtime friends, George Beverly Shea on his left, and Cliff Barrows on his right, they were a team for years. And Cliff was sort of the MC and host of the Billy Graham Crusades, and also directed the choir. And of course, George Beverly Shea was America's beloved gospel singer. And he'd always sing a song right before Mr. Graham got up to speak, right? And so occasionally they would sing together, not very often. Billy was not really a singer, but they would do a song together. And so I wondered, I wonder if I could find that song they did. So I found the little video clip. Check this out.
I know that you're applauding to hear George Beverly Shea sing again. But instead, I think I'm going to ask him to come and join me and Cliff Barrows in a song. We haven't practiced it in some time.
What are we going to sing?
The only one we know. This the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I don't know, no, I'm gonna let it shine. I don't know, no, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Isn't that great? I had the privilege of getting to know all three of these men very well, and they were so much fun to be with. And I'm so thankful that they lived lives of integrity all the way to the very end. Now they're all in heaven. Maybe they're singing that song up in heaven, and maybe Billy's sense of timing is even a little better. I don't know. So here's a few more photos. This is Billy speaking in the Capitol after receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor. I took the shot myself. In the front row, you see Newt Gingrich, Ruth Graham, Al Gore, Bob Dole, Elizabeth Dole, a little further down, Lloyd Ogilvie, Franklin. And so that was a really momentous occasion for sure. This is at his last crusade in Flushing Meadows, New York. A massive crowd gathered. And I knew this would probably be Billy's last crusade. So it was sort of a bittersweet night that I remember vividly. Very happy to see him get up and preach again, but knowing this is probably the last time we would see the great crusader get up behind the pulpit again. This is a shot earlier, back a little bit, at the Billy Graham Training Center at the Cove. And let's see. Oh, this is probably one of the last photos I took with him. I'm giving him something in a box there. And so he's saying thank you, I suppose. And this is, he's eating his sandwich. Probably wanted me to go away. Like, why can't I eat a sandwich without this guy talking to me? When Billy dedicated the Billy Graham Library in Charlotte, North Carolina, where his service will be held this coming Friday, and Kathy and I will be in attendance there, they had 3 U.S. presidents come. President Bush is there, and President Carter, you see, is there, and President Clinton was there, but he wasn't there for this photo. So left to right, Jane Graham, Franklin Graham, myself, President Bush, Barbara Bush, Kathy, and Jimmy Carter, President Carter. Notice that Jimmy has his wife around my wife's waist. Like, what's with that? And afterwards, he said to her, "I enjoyed that very much." Is true story. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, all very nice men. This is one of my favorite photos with Billy, just standing behind him, counting it a privilege to help him in any way I could. Earth is poorer and heaven is richer because Billy Graham has gone home to be with the Lord. So, I'm sorry to show so many pictures today.